When it comes to Christmas movies, I go for limited amounts of high-quality treacle, like It's a Wonderful Life. But one movie I could watch over and over again is The Nightmare Before Christmas, the stop-motion animated movie by Tim Burton.
Naughty children never get any presents.
I think he might be too big.
No, he's not. If he can go down a chimney, he can get down here.
Like all of Burton's films, it's gorgeous, a little dark, and totally quirky. And a couple of my favorite movies ever, Beetle Juice and Pee-wee's Big Adventure, are also his. Tim Burton's entire career is on view right now in New York at the Museum of Modern Art. Drawings, animations, artifacts, models, and the movies themselves. Tim Burton, welcome to Studio 360.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's interesting that this is the great Tim Burton show at the Museum of Modern Art, but one looks at the wall tags and a lot of the stuff you credit so-and-so and so-and-so, people who aren't you, for making this drawing or this model or this thing.
Yeah, I just because, I more from the film world than the art world that way. And so, even though, in any film you do, you try to make it your own. But obviously, the joy of it as well is all the other people and great artists and designers and actors you get to work with. So, I mean, that's part of the energy of doing it. So right. I'd like to acknowledge that. So you have these two curators who are working at the museum putting together the show. How much of a push-pull with them was there in deciding what was going to go in the show? I just kind of let them kind of dig around, and they kind of, crawled under every rock, opened every closet, and so I just kind of let them do it, and because it's hard for me to look at my own stuff, movies or anything. I like doing it. It's hard for me to watch and look at stuff, so I relied on them a lot for that, and also it helped me. It was kind of nice to kind of rediscover things that I hadn't seen in many years, so it was a very interesting process. And once you saw it up, to see your work as a 14-year-old, as an 18-year-old, as a 20-year-old, as a 30 or 40, 50-year-old in the Museum of Modern Art, does it make you think about your own oeuvre differently? It goes to another level because it's so surreal for me. I mean, to see stuff I can't even look at, it freaks me. I didn't even know. I said to them, "Where the hell did you find this thing?" I mean, I don't know where they got some of this stuff. We see all these drawings, doodles, things, as you say, from napkins, scraps over the years. Do you still do that in a way that isn't necessarily about a movie project you're working on? Oh, absolutely. In fact, I mean, I never think like say, for instance, Edward Scissorhands. I don't go like, oh, I'm going to make a movie about a guy with scissors for hands, Those kind of things, especially those real personal ones, come more from just a feeling and drawings, and I rely much more on my subconscious than I do my, intellectual mind, because I find it's more truthful for me when the intellectual mind, I can kind of play tricks on myself a little bit. Same with Scissorhands. That came from an emotional feeling. Then it kind of gets into little sketches, and you're not even quite sure what it means, and then you kind of keep drawing. And then some moment comes when you say, well, I've drawn 12 drawings of a guy with scissors for hands. This must mean something? What the hell does that mean? Yeah, and then you kind of go, yeah, well, I know what it means, and it goes back to that feeling of being a teenager and not being able to feel like you can touch or communicate with people. So, I mean, they come from... sometimes you'll do drawings and they won't go anywhere, or sometimes it'll kind of mutate into something else. And that still is happening. Oh yeah, no, I mean that's the way I prefer it to happen, because it's the way, like I said, for me, I feel it's more truthful for me. Yeah. Ed Wood, your film from 1994 about this odd real-life 1950s film director whose enthusiasms aren't always shared by the rest of the world, shall we say. Did you identify with him? Completely. I mean, it almost felt autobiographical in a sense, because when he'd be talking about, Plan 9 from outer space, you'd think he was talking about Star Wars. It was like... And rather than this kind of dinky, not-so-great thing that he made. Yeah, no, and he's like the most delusional character, in the history of people, but the passion that he seemed to have and the enthusiasm with nothing, and as a filmmaker, you have to go into every movie you do thinking it's going to be the greatest thing in the world.
Everybody, we're about to embark on quite a journey. 4 days of hard work. But when it's over, we'll have a picture that'll entertain, enlighten, and maybe even move millions of people.
Excuse me, Eddie, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm worried about the light.
Good thinking. All right, we'll talk about...
There's something very beautiful and touching about that, and it's something that I think, as any filmmaker goes through, you've just got all this great enthusiasm, and it could be a completely lousy movie, but so that character, and also his sort of kind of offbeat family that he had. That also talks about the process of making a film and the kind of twisted family that you surround
temporarily
yourself with.
Create.
Yeah, it's great.
What's hardest for you in the making, in the being of an artist, in the being of a film director?
The hardest. When I was an animator, up until I was in my early 20s, people didn't even know I could talk. I was a fairly nonverbal person.
Hello? Why are you hiding back there? What happened to you? Those are your hands? Those are your hands.
I'd be talking and people would just be looking, trying to, like I was some kind of alien, trying to understand.
What happened to you?
How did you get over that period?
I just, just time and experience and learning and doing a film, you're forced to do it. Before then, I wasn't really, as an drawer, you could just kind of show somebody a drawing and that sort of spoke.
A couple of the movies you've made the last few years, I think of Big Fish and Sweeney Todd. It seems, while I have liked and adored most of your movies over the years, those two strike me as kind of really grown up in a certain sense of dealing with the issues of death in a real way. Does that strike you as right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Big Fish came about, and that was very, because my father just died the year before that. So, and I wasn't very close to him. So it quite mirrored.
You were not very close to him.
No, I wasn't really that close to my family. And I was shocked by my reaction after his death, and how much it really affected me. And so that was probably, the most real movie in a certain way, if you whatever that means.
As fantastical as it was in
certain
ways.
Yeah, and then Sweeney Todd just was something that I just always loved it was like kind of the first show I ever saw, and like, well, it blew me away. And I just to kind of make like a horror movie musical, I just thought that was just something deep down I always wanted to try to do.
And so Sweeney Todd, adaptation of an iconic piece of the American theater, Willy Wonka, adaptation of this iconic children's thing, a movie that had been made before. Now you're doing Alice in Wonderland. When you're adapting something so familiar like that, does that bring other levels of anxiety, baggage with it?
And problems, yes. I mean, books that people love are hard to. I think they're probably the most difficult thing, because you're always going to leave something out or do something, or I think they're very difficult to do. I think book adaptations.
And Alice,
yeah,
there's nothing more. I mean, I guess The Wizard of Oz you would have, but Alice in Wonderland is the most well known.
Yeah, but the thing with Alice in Wonderland that I don't feel quite so anxious about is that, personally, I've never seen a version of it I liked. I mean, because it's always been, for me, the same thing. A passive little girl wandering around, into one weird character after another without much, it's just like, oh, this
a series
weird.
Of set pieces.
Yeah, kind of weird event, weird characters. It's those characters, they're kind of iconic characters. So that was the thing, for me, it's just to try to do justice to those things. And, and the 3D element of it also seemed to be exciting, because, Alice in Wonderland and 3D seemed to be a good, combo of medium and material.
So this is a 3D
film?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, yeah.
So it's your James Cameron moment?
Well, I'm no James Cameron. There's only one James Cameron. There's only one king of the world, isn't there?
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Tim Burton, thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, and thank you.
The Tim Burton retrospective at the Museum of Modern Art is up through April of 2010.